You know that feeling when you wake up and, I mean, the clock says you've slept, but you just don't feel rested. And I'm not talking about the groggy feeling after a late movie.
Right.
I mean, a deep structural fatigue, like it's settled right into your marrow.
Yeah.
You can drink the coffee, but the coffee just sits on top of the tired. It doesn't actually touch it.
It's the kind of tired where your bones feel heavy. It's almost a gravity problem, not a sleep problem.
The gravity problem. That is such a good way to put it. And honestly, it's something I think a massive percentage of parents are walking around with right now, but we don't have the language for it.
We just say, I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted, and that's it. But today, we are going to do better. We're going to unpack exactly what that feeling is. We're doing a deep dive into an essay titled Exhaustion, specifically from a piece called The Architecture of Parental Exhaustion by the writer and philosopher Pedro Malha.
This is such a necessary piece of writing, and I want to set the stage here right away. Malha isn't offering us a list of 10 ways to get your energy back.
No sleep training hacks.
No. He's doing something philosophical.
Yeah.
He is deconstructing the fundamental difference between simple tiredness, which is, physical and temporary, and this profound condition of time, responsibility, and attention.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. To understand why this specific type of exhaustion feels so different from any other work we do. And to get there, we have to start with the core idea Malha brings up right at the beginning.
Which is that we've been defining exhaustion all wrong.
Exactly.
We usually think of exhaustion as an event, a crash, a collapse. You run a marathon, you cross the finish line, and you fall down.
That's event-based exhaustion.
Yes.
Yes.
But Malha argues that parental exhaustion is a state of continuation.
Exhaustion as continuation. That phrase, it just stopped me in my tracks because normally when my body signals exhaustion, it's a request to stop. It's a red light.
But here, stopping isn't an option.
Right.
Exactly. In almost every other area of human life, exhaustion is the signal that the activity has ended. You finish the project, you sleep. You finish the race, you rest. But with parenting, there's no finish line.
It just keeps going.
Right. Malha points out that this fatigue forms through repetition and the quote, unbroken requirement to remain available. It's not caused by one bad night. It accumulates because the function of parenting doesn't pause when your energy runs out.
It's the timeline that gets you. We aren't talking about a double shift at work where you get to clock out. Malha describes this as spanning from the early hours of the morning all the way until late at night.
And even late at night is a bit of a deceptive term, isn't it?
It is, because the clock doesn't really apply.
It spans from those early hours when it's still dark to late at night without a true pause.
Yeah.
And then it just bleeds into the sleep itself. It's this relentless continuity. And this leads us directly into what I think is the most counterintuitive insight in the whole essay.
Okay.
If I ask you to picture an exhausted person, what do you see?
Oh, someone in sweatpants, maybe unwashed hair, just staring blankly at a wall. Chaos around them, dishes piling up, someone who is visibly just hanging on.
Right. We associate exhaustion with falling apart. But Malha introduces the paradox of competence. He says this specific type of exhaustion lives alongside competence.
That is fascinating. So it doesn't look like failure.
No, it looks like high-level functioning. That's the camouflage.
Wow.
The parent wakes up exhausted and simply continues. They answer the questions, they pack the lunch boxes, they notice the sharp edge on the playground, they soothe the fears. They are, as he puts it, holding the shape of the day together.
I love that imagery, holding the shape of the day, because days don't just happen with kids. They have to be constructed if you let go.
The shape dissolves into chaos.
Yeah.
And it's contained, so to the outside observer, it looks like they're handling it, they're organized, they're getting it done. But Malha's point is that this isn't a flaw in their stamina. It's the natural outcome of sustained responsibility combined with care.
So you are competent because you care, and you are exhausted because you are competent.
Exactly. So if you're listening and you feel like you're drowning, but your house is clean and your kids are fed, that doesn't mean you aren't exhausted.
Just means you're good at your job.
Precisely. You are succeeding at the responsibility, which, ironically, deepens the exhaustion. You can't put a child's needs in the pending tray until you feel better.
No.
You can't delegate that ultimate responsibility away. Even if you have help, a babysitter, a partner, Malha notes that the primary parent still carries the awareness of the child.
That awareness piece is huge. I've heard people describe it as having a browser tab open in your brain that you can never, ever close.
Yes.
It's just constantly refreshing. Where are they? Are they safe? Even if you're at a spa, that tab is open.
And that browser tab drains the battery whether the child is in the room or not. That awareness is continuous. It might be light some days, heavy others, but it never shuts off. Which brings us to the actual mechanics of how this wears a person down physically. He uses a very specific word here, vigilance.
The exhaustion of vigilance. Okay, so how is that different from, say, the exhaustion of effort, like digging a ditch?
Effort is lifting a heavy box.
Yeah.
It uses muscles, it burns calories directly. Vigilance is staring at a door, waiting for it to open, or, listening for a sound that hasn't happened yet.
It's a low level of readiness.
It's a low level of readiness that rarely switches off. It's a sensory engagement. You're constantly scanning the environment for threats or needs.
Mallah mentions this even invades sleep, which just feels so unfair. I mean, sleep should be the sanctuary.
It should be, but for a parent, it often isn't. Even in sleep, a part of the mind is tuned to sound, to movement. If you've ever woken up purely because the house was too quiet,
Oh, yeah.
you know what this is. Your nervous system is scanning. And over time, this partial wakefulness just becomes your normal state. Your body adapts to never fully powering down.
But you can't run a machine in standby mode for 5 years without a cost. Even a TV burns out.
And the cost is subtle, but it is real. Mala describes it as rest becoming shallow and recovery incomplete. And physically, the body. It holds the record of what has been managed.
This part hit home for me. He lists the symptoms. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, irritability, that feeling of brain fog.
Yeah.
It's like the body is a ledger.
It is a ledger. It's keeping the scorecard. It's the body saying, I have averted 1,000 crises and planned 3,000 meals, and I'm storing that tension right here in your upper back.
The body speaking when words aren't available.
Exactly. But there's another mechanical element here that's just as draining, and that's the sheer inevitability of the tasks.
The repetition. Oh, the laundry, the meals, the transitions, the shoes. Oh my God, the shoes.
And to be clear, Mala isn't saying these tasks are hard. Making a sandwich is not difficult.
No, physically it's not an athletic feat.
Right. It's not the difficulty, it's the frequency.
It's the relentless nature of it.
Exactly. What exhausts you is their inevitability. With 100% certainty that you will have to do it again tomorrow and the day after that. It's a loop.
There is no finish line, he writes. There is only a pause before it returns.
That's the key. This is repetition that cannot be optimized away. You can't productivity hack your way out of needing to feed your child dinner.
No.
You can't automate the emotional support needed during a meltdown. It requires presence.
I think that's where a lot of modern frustration comes from. We live in this world that tells us we can optimize everything. Use this app, use this schedule.
Yeah.
If we just had a better system, we wouldn't be tired.
But he's saying, no, this is structural. It's built into the gig.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of scale. This is where we have to look at the timeline again. The human mind can handle crises, right?
For a week, sure.
A week of disruption. You power through. But parenting is measured in years. And the exhaustion reflects that duration.
Years. When you think about sleep debt or hypervigilance over a span of, say, 5 years, that completely changes the conversation. It creates a cumulative effect that one nice weekend away is not going to fix.
Not at all.
And it's not just the physical task. There's an emotional layer to this essay that I found really powerful. Maha talks about the parent as a container.
This is a beautiful but heavy concept.
Yeah.
It's the idea of holding emotion that is not your own.
Yeah.
Children are raw nerves. They bring fear, distress, frustration into the adult space. And they don't ask permission. They don't knock and say, is this a good time for a meltdown?
No, they definitely do not. They just dump it right there in the kitchen while you're trying to make spaghetti.
And the parent absorbs it. Mahala says they regulate, translate, soften, and contain. You take the child's chaos, you calm them down, you explain the world, and for the child, the moment passes. They feel better.
They skip off to play.
But here's where it gets interesting.
The parent carries what was held.
Yes. Yeah. The child is relieved, but the parent is left holding the residue of that emotional storm. And that is a constant background task that's rarely named because when it's done well, it's invisible.
It's invisible emotional labor. It reminds me of, like, a toxic waste processing plant. You take in the toxic stuff, you purify it, you release clean water back to the child, but the sludge stays in your filters.
That's a surprisingly accurate analogy.
Yeah.
And Mala connects this to what he calls the asymmetry of care.
Asymmetry. So It's not balanced.
It's a hard truth, but a necessary one. Parenting requires giving without immediate return. Mullen notes that affection may be returned. Kids give great hugs, they say, "I love you," but responsibility is not shared equally.
Right. You can't look at your 5-year-old and say, hey, I had a really rough day. Can you handle the mortgage stress and make sure I eat my vegetables tonight?
No, you cannot. The child cannot hold the parent's needs. And that imbalance is appropriate, it's necessary, but it is tiring. Being the one who always holds more becomes a weight over time.
You're always the designated driver of the relationship.
Always. You can never just get in the passenger seat and nap.
And while you're holding that weight in the present, Malha points out your mind isn't even fully in the present. It's often in the future.
This is the future-facing attention. Parenting involves this constant orientation towards what isn't visible yet. You're worrying about their safety 5 minutes from now, their character development 5 years from now.
The what-if game. What if they fall? What if they don't make friends? What if I'm messing them up?
Even small choices carry these imagined consequences.
Yeah.
And that consumes energy. It creates a cognitive split. Your body is in the present, just pushing a swing, but your mind is 5 years down the road simulating disasters.
That split is exhausting.
It's the exhaustion of simulation.
So let's recap the load here. We have physical vigilance, emotional containment, asymmetrical responsibility, and cognitive time travel. I mean, no wonder we are tired. But Malha brings up a point that I think is a massive aha moment. It's about the relationship between love and energy.
This is critical. If listeners take one thing away, let it be this line. Malha writes, "Love does not cancel fatigue."
Boom. I feel like we need to put that on a billboard.
Love does not cancel fatigue. And many parents are surprised by this. They subconsciously expect their love for their child to act like a limitless fuel source, a nuclear reactor.
And when they still feel depleted, they assume something is wrong with them?
Yes. They think, if I loved my child enough, I wouldn't be this annoyed that they're asking for water for the 10th time.
Right.
They mistake the exhaustion for a lack of love. But Malha is very clear. The exhaustion is simply proportionate to the demand. Care does not replenish energy by itself.
You can love someone more than life itself and still be physically unable to keep your eyes open.
And this misunderstanding leads to what he calls the trap of fixing, when we treat this exhaustion as a problem to be solved.
Instead of a reality to be managed.
Right. We look for techniques, we buy the books, we try to fix the tiredness. And when those solutions fail, because again, you can't optimize this away, the parent turns the blame inward.
I'm not doing it right. Everyone else on the internet seems fine.
Exactly. And that just adds a layer of psychological strain to an already heavy physical condition. Malha mentions that exhaustion deepens when it's misnamed.
And there's a silence around it, too. He talks about why parents don't speak about it.
There's the fear of appearing ungrateful, of course, but there's also a practical reason. Describing it takes energy.
It feels like just another task you don't have the bandwidth for.
And often, when parents do speak up, people try to offer advice.
Have you tried yoga? Have you tried meal prepping? Have you tried waking up even earlier to meditate?
Right. And Malha says the parent doesn't want advice. They aren't asking for a solution because they know deep down there isn't one. They just want to say, this is heavy, and have someone say, yes, it is.
So what do we do? I mean, if we can't fix it and we can't optimize it away, or are we just doomed? Malha suggests a shift, but it's not a cure. It's about recognition.
This is the pivot point of the essay. Recognition changes the meaning of the exhaustion. When you see it as an expected outcome of sustained care, it stops being personal. It stops being moral.
It moves from I am flawed to I am doing a hard thing for a long time.
Yes. It becomes evidence of duration. Malha uses this beautiful phrase, the exhaustion belongs.
It belongs. That feels surprisingly comforting. It's not an intruder, it's a roommate.
It does. It means the exhaustion is part of the landscape, like the furniture in the room. It belongs to the role of parenting just as much as responsibility or repetition does.
But how does that help? Because honestly, acknowledging the furniture doesn't make it lighter. I'm still tired.
It helps because it removes the resistance. Malha argues that a huge amount of energy is wasted just arguing with your own state.
Yeah.
You're constantly waiting for a version of yourself that is never tired.
You're mad that you're tired.
Mad that you're tired, anxious that you're tired, but that fresh version doesn't exist right now. And when you stop arguing with the reality of the fatigue, the resistance drops.
So you stop fighting the fact that you're tired and you just exist with it.
In a way, yes. You name it accurately. You say, I am tired because I have been vigilant for years. That stops the exhaustion from spreading into self-assessment. It stops you from saying, I am inadequate.
Tired without being inadequate, that is a mantra right there.
It allows the exhaustion to be what it is specific. It's felt in the shoulders, in the mind. But it's no longer a vague sense of total failure.
Maha says this clarity doesn't promise relief from the work. The laundry is still there.
The wake-up call in the early hours is still coming. True, parenting continues. But the exhaustion becomes quieter. It's more contained. It no longer needs to shout to be heard because you've acknowledged it.
It's like when your check engine light is on and you're terrified, but once you take it to the mechanic and they say, oh, it's just the sensor, the car runs fine. The light is still on, but you aren't gripping the steering wheel in panic anymore?
That is a great analogy. The condition hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. The confusion is gone. Mala says what settles is not the tiredness, but the struggle with the tiredness.
And he wraps us up with a really profound idea about what this exhaustion actually signifies. He says exhaustion has an intelligence.
He does. He says it signals limits that exist, not limits that must be overcome. It marks the boundary of what can be sustained. But then he takes it a step further. He suggests that perhaps the willingness to continue beyond comfort, that generosity, is where the love actually lives.
So the exhaustion is almost like the receipt.
In a sense, it's the cost. Maul writes that love often increases the willingness to continue. It pushes us past where we would normally stop. We give more than we have because of that love. And that generosity has a cost. Exhaustion is part of it.
So rather than seeing it as an interruption to parenting,
We should see it as part of its structure. It honors the weight of the work.
that is such a different way to look at it. Instead of trying to erase the exhaustion, we honor it as proof of the care we've provided. It's the scar tissue of love.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Mala is inviting us to stop waiting for the day we wake up fully rested and perfect. He's asking us to see the tired version of ourselves as the one who is actually doing the work.
The exhaustion isn't blocking the view, it is part of the view.
It is. And as he says, that seeing is enough to change how the weight is held.
It doesn't make the weight lighter, but it makes it bearable because it makes sense.
It frames the exhaustion as a result of something noble rather than a result of something failed.
Well, for anyone listening who is currently in those early hours or late at night, holding the shape of the day together while feeling like they might crumble, I hope this deep dive gives you a little bit of that recognition. You aren't doing it wrong, you're just doing it.
And if I could leave you with one final thought from Malha, it's this. Exhaustion is often the body speaking when words aren't available. It's an honest signal. Maybe the most loving thing we can do is to stop trying to silence that signal and just let it sit there, next to the love and the joy. They can coexist.
Love, care, frustration, joy, and exhaustion coexist. None cancels the others.
A powerful place to leave it. Thank you so much for walking us through Pedro Malha's philosophy today.
It was a pleasure to explore it.
And thank you to everyone listening. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.